Shall we begin?
I gotta turn this down, Bob.
Play around with a bad football team, bad things happen.
You're listening to 9 to Noon.
Hold on to your butts.
Oh my God! Yes! No way!
Thank you.
You homer!
Got to be careful with Johnny Pecker.
9 to Noon.
That's a great setup, Bob.
I'm an essential.
Good stuff.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to Southern California, and specifically Beverly Hills. It's yours truly, Paul Allen. And this is FM 100.3 KFAN in the 9 to Noon presentation. Eric Nordquist is the producer at the flagship for Love Covenant Presentations, just outside of the Twin Cities to the west of Erotic City. We thank Aaron Freeman with the Minnesota Timberwolves public relations staff for setting up this Beverly Hillbilly. I mean, I'm in Beverly Hills, man, and you know, I'm the Beverly Hillbilly in Beverly Hills right now, following around the swanky basketball team with the opportunity to go watch the Timberwolves with my son Derek at Crypto.com Arena last night. The news at the end of the equation wasn't good. They lost the game, but nevertheless, the experience as a father and son would go is second to none. And we thank the Minnesota Timberwolves for assisting yours truly with the opportunity for me and my son to stay at the team hotel for a few days and go to the Wolves-Lakers last night, Wolves-Clippers tomorrow. The Timberwolves have a day off today, and Eric Nordquist, mad producer, is guiding the great ship Love Covenant from FM 100.3 KFAN. Not to ruin your Monday morning or your Sunday evening if you happen to be appearing at the television looking for yours truly and or send your smiley, but I did not wear my Young Life red and black flannel, 3 buttons down, basically middle of the sternum. And I'm glad I didn't, because the seats Derek and I had last night ended up being right next to Alex Rodriguez. So therefore, having the status quo Timberwolf sweatshirt in enemy territory, pulling for the howl, not learning Stifle Towers, a late scratch, until you texted me, and we were driving to the game as Beverly Hillbillies. But the news at the end of the equation, Eric was not great last night, but nevertheless, wonderful for yours truly and Senor Smiley, and hopefully we have some better luck against the LA Clippers tomorrow night. And good morning. What's up, brother?
Good morning. Yeah, short-handed hoops team in LA, and you got to sit there real close to the action and view it all, and I'm sure you know, A-Rod was not only welcoming and warm and conversational and talkative and, you know, the long history he knows about your play-by-play experience and in your longtime radio show here in the Minneapolis market. So I'm sure that was a really fun part of the experience as well.
Great.
But I mean,
what an honor.
I'm super jealous in a way, and it's weird. There's so much going on here and just disjointed. You're in LA, I'm here, and all of that. But I if I'm Derek, man, I mean, what an experience to go see, even though, you know, I don't know if he has a game-worn Anthony Davis after that 27 and 25 game last night, but the ability to be at Staples/Crypto/ whatever the heck they call it now, for both the Lakers and then tomorrow night going to get to see the Clippers. That's a badass little trip to L.A.
Yeah, it was the first time last night that I met Alex Rodriguez, and it was in like a little restaurant area, kind of behind the scenes from where we were sitting, and he walked in there, you know, looking to get a beverage or whatever, and I introduced myself, and you know, he stopped, shook my hand, and I'm like, I'm here with KFAN Radio, staying at the team hotel, doing a radio show tomorrow, and you know, he was like kind of nodding and stuff, and then I'm like, yeah, the show's 9 to noon. And I could tell just with him looking at me and looking to get his beverage and everything, it was kind of like, all right, well, this guy's wearing a Timberwolf sweatshirt, so we like him. And he's forthright, so he wasn't exactly sure if he liked that. But I could absolutely quickly tell that Alex was kind of like, I have no idea who you are. I barely know who the radio station is. And I'm more thinking about Stifle Tower and this hamstring and slow-mo not playing this evening. Shoot, we're less than a week removed from our coach tapping out of a game because of an illness and losing Karl Anthony Towns. So the co-owner of the team, it was nice meeting him last night, and it definitely was interesting watching somebody's mind go in circles because of how badly he wants his team to win. And I learned that sitting next to him last night. It wasn't a full conversation the entire game and stuff, a couple of fist bumps when things would go well. But the beauty of a situation like that is like, for Derek, all right? Now, Derek, not the biggest baseball fan in the world, but, it's so many people know who Alex Rodriguez is, beloved A-Rod, even if you don't follow it super closely. So, like, Derek was just mesmerized, being 2 seats away from Alex Rodriguez, kept stealing, like, some glances out of his left eye and stuff. And Alex, man, watching a game with him or sitting next to him during a game, I mean, you talk about somebody who just, now granted, he's co-owner of the team, and he gets sports, but holy cow, he's really, really into this team, man. And they and the shorthanded bit you were talking about, them fighting LeBron and AD with that box score, like you said, that game line that he had last night was that of immortality. But it was just kind of cool sitting next to the owner of a team. I can't say that I've ever done that, and just quietly, without being over the top and yelling and standing up and going Mark Cuban on it and stuff like that. Just being next to somebody who cares that much about the wins and the losses, and he's super, super intense. That was cool.
Well, it's cool, and there's the pro athlete vibe. It's no longer, it feels like there's a sea change in ownership in a lot of cases, where it's no longer the stereotype of just old man, arms crossed, a few smiles here and there, and maybe you'd prefer to be watching it in a box. Now it's kind of this, it's as if the NBA culture has taken over the ownership of it, where it is Mark Cuban style, right? It's see and be seen. And I'm sure he probably would have preferred to sit next to Mark Laurie, because he didn't have to answer all the questions about his Yankees days. And you asked him if he was really juicing or not. You went down that road with him, I'm sure. But just the new generation of sports ownership, and A-Rod's cool cat, man. And that was super cool. And unfortunately, the Howl couldn't get it done. And for the first time all season, kind of drifting down the charts, right? They've been hot. They've been number one, best music in town, and suddenly now they're in the third spot behind the Nugs and the Thunder.
Did you watch the game last night?
I watched about half of it, yes.
If Rudy Gobert plays in the game last night, I think the Timberwolves win.
I agree.
And the reason I say that is because Davis and Jackson Hayes don't get what they got as consistently as they were getting it if Rudy Gobert's in the game. Now, he wasn't. So, we learned it last year with the Vikings, man, going through the 4 quarterback trick and, the injuries and stuff, is that, okay, next man up. We understand that. And, these are compensated professionals who are quite talented. So, like Alexander Walker dusting off TJ Warren, McLaughlin, stuff like that. They're going to give you moments, but consistently speaking, the high enders just make good things happen in pressure situations more consistently than backups who are playing markedly more than they generally expected to play. So, Davis does not have that line he had last night of stifle plays. And the hope is obviously that he's going to play Tuesday against the Clippers. But nevertheless, I mean, Anthony Davis was just, he was an what was that line you texted me this morning? The big immortality like line by AD?
Yeah, 27 points, 25 boards, 5 assists, 7 steals, 3 blocks. I mean, it's an LFL buffet, PA.
How about that?
Oh my goodness, game of the year.
Imagine you're going into the last game, in League Freak's life. You're going into the last game of the week, and you're 6 steals down, and you have no chance. And Anthony Davis single-handedly gets you over the hump, going Bruce Bowen on it with 7 steals. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they out-rebounded us by 18, PA. So in some way, so that's why I'm kind of, when you play so small, with Jaden really being your biggest body on the court out of the gate, and you're trying to work it in, it feels like Luka Garza got 10 too many minutes from the perspective of some within the team with the way they handle his playing time.
Yeah.
TJ Warren still, it's not the glory days of Indy for him. So you're working
him.
I like TJ Warren a lot
I found
too.
myself pulling for him. Because we were. I'm glad you said Indianapolis when he went for like 20 a season or 19 something one time, and he's been through some significant injuries, and it's I could tell he got tired last night and he lost his legs and his shot kept coming up a little short. But I found myself last night pulling for TJ and like stories like that, man. When it just feels like it could be right near the end if it doesn't work, but if it does work, then you have a bona fide scorer that you can play a few minutes, man, because TJ can score.
Yeah, he can. But that was, remember Malcolm Brogdon going through some injury stuff. That's young. DeMontis was just a baby, but those Pacers teams had a lot of promise, but it was the injuries. And there's a third player, former Pacer, who was fantastic. Then he went through knee problems as well. But with that said, when you're under the bright lights, big city, and you got the Vox sitting next to A-Rod, and you don't have Rudy and you don't have Cat, pack a lunch, because the Lakers are in grind mode to solidify a playoff spot. So that was a tough one.
All right, on the entertainment docket today from Beverly Hills in Southern California with yours truly, the Beverly Hillbilly, at FM 100.3 KFAN. Jim Peterson, who analyzes basketball for profit on Valley Sports North. He's going to be the first guest. He'll join us around the corner. The Radio Vox Alan Horton joins about 30 minutes from now. We're going to get hard into football at 10 o'clock, just in case any metaphorical shoes have dropped from what would be 9 up until 10 o'clock, at least Central Time. Russell Wilson reportedly is going to be a Steeler. Mac Jones reportedly traded to Jacksonville. The Denver Broncos made a sneaky little Jerry Jeudy trade to get some draft picks. Why does the Anti-Vike need those draft picks? Probably to move up in the draft to get J.J. McCup, to get the quarterback of his choice. So that plus much more from 10 to about 10:35, 10:40, starting with Vikes Bites, led by a mad producer from FM 100.3 KFAN. Assistant coach Mike Inori, Timberwolves assistant Mike Inori, joins us at the midway point of the show. TV Vox Michael Grady at 11 o'clock. And Johnny Athletic, John Krasinski's on this road trip with the Timberwolves, doing some Valley Sports North work last night. Johnny Athletic will join us a little later. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. All of that is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. We welcome you to Southern California and the Minnesota Timberwolves Team Hotel. And I'm Paul Allen at FM 100.3 KFAN. Jim Pete is next.
Time for two more.
9 to noon.
Now, what did I do wrong?
The Vikings.
You lucky suckers.
Welcome back to the show.
What you just said.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
You think it's funny?
Good seeing you at the game last night, and man, great being here at this beautiful hotel. I am the Beverly Hillbilly, and good morning.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, welcome to Beverly Hills.
It's pretty cool, and with the game last night, we had plenty of time to talk about that. But from where I was sitting, I was looking for you and Grady and like Alan Horton to see where you guys do your thing. Mm-hmm. And so up to my left is I saw a bunch of broadcasters, and it was very dark. It was like a Madison Square Garden type feel. It was
like a boxing ring.
Right, where it's dark in the stands and super illuminated on the court. But, I mean, we're about the same age, man. And, if you ain't got the right light, I mean, that could be a problem during the course of the game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I really like the way that the Lakers do it, though. I think that Madison Square Garden is like, there's a few arenas that set up their places like that. And we were just talking off air that I told you it's a completely different vibe for a Clipper game because the lights, they put all the lights on, you can see everybody. And if you were to go there for a Clipper game, you would never know that all those Laker banners, they cover all that stuff.
Crazy.
They put huge photographs up, and it's going to be different next year because Intuit Arena, which is going to be over there in Inglewood, is going to open up, and it's going to be it's going to be phenomenal. Yeah,
wow.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. And Inglewood, I mean, I went to high school and junior college here. I went to Glendora High School, Pasadena City College. Tracy Murray, when I was a senior, he was a sophomore. He transferred from Pasadena High School to Glendora High School. And he was unbelievable. I mean, even as a sophomore, it's like, he and, you remember the NBA player Scott Williams? Played for the Bulls, North Carolina. He went to Hacienda Heights, Wilson, which is about 35 minutes from here. And
where'd Jay Billis go? Jay Billis grew up.
I don't know, but for Scott Williams, just a tragic story. Either like right when he was done with high school or right when he started at North Carolina with Dean Smith. But he came home and his father had killed his mother and like brothers or sisters, something, and himself. So, and Dean Smith, like basically, I don't want to say he pushed the envelope on every rule there potentially would be with, violating with a college kid or whatever, like handouts and stuff. But he basically became his dad. And then Scott ended up going to the NBA, playing with Michael Jordan with the Bulls. I think he did Phoenix Suns radio for quite some time. But Tracy and Scott, Scott and I were the same age, so we would play in a lot of the same summer basketball type tournaments. And Tracy and Scott, man, in the CIF, it's called here in Southern California, to make it to the Final Four is quite the accomplishment. And to get to the finals in Southern California, high-class basketball, I mean, it's unbelievable. And we had that team when I was a senior. Tracy might have gone for 57. Scott Williams might have gone for 62 in like a 3-overtime game. There have only been 2 times after sporting events that I've cried. One, when we lost in 2009 at New Orleans, the Minnesota Vikings, with Brett Favre and the across-the-body trick, and there goes Tracy Porter, and it's like 525 yards of offense. What, we're not going to Miami? It's that close to go to the Super Bowl? It was crazy. And after that high school basketball game where that was...
Not in 98?
I just got here in 98. It was my first year in Minnesota in 98.
Well, so I grew up, and I had my heart broken as a kid, losing all those Super Bowls when I was a kid in the 70s.
Right.
And so I was, and now it's 98, and I had already been through my NBA career. I just got the Wolves job.
Yeah.
I'm just starting my career as a broadcaster. And my wife and I, we went to that game. And, that season, I wasn't going to buy in, and so my really good friend Justin Gamble, grew up together in Salem's Park. And Justin's like, they're going to be for real this year, And so...
they got this Moss guy.
Yeah, and so I was a huge Randy Moss fan. I love Chris Carter too, and Jake Reed, and it was everything. The Sun, Moon, and Stars came into alignment, and I bought in. I got tickets, and rode the whole wave. And in '98, we're all sitting there, Super Bowl, and Robert Smith is running out of bounds for some reason. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, geez. Well, the therapeutic Davenport love regarding football pops out in Beverly Hills. It's crazy.
I know, but so literally when we lost that game, though, against Atlanta, Tika and I were the 2 last people out of Metrodome. I sat there with my head in my hands in my 2 seats, and then I didn't know that I was going to be like that. That wasn't going to be my biggest disappointment because then as a broadcaster,
what 03
first round buyout, bow outs every year, like at the time, this is the weird thing, PA, is that I tell people this all the time, is like when I first started with the Wolves, it was 51 seasons. Kevin Garnett was unbelievable, and we were going to the playoffs every year. Flip was getting us, getting us into the playoffs, and we started making it. And then 03-04 happens, and we go to the Western Conference Finals, and could have won had Sam not gotten hurt. And then we go into the desert for 17, whatever it was, 15 years, 17 years.
Yeah.
And so, I never took those first round bow outs for granted again.
Right.
So now we're getting back here.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to enjoy these seasons. I'm not trying to sit here and over criticize.
But you've been to
what's
the
going
NBA
on.
Finals.
As a player, I went there my second year.
Yeah.
And this is why I tell people too, I'm like,
Was that 84, 85?
86, 85, 86. And so we made it to the NBA Finals, and we never made it back again. And I thought that we were going to go there with Elijah and Sampson. We were going to go every year. And you only get so many bites at the apple. And so that's why this year I'm just trying to enjoy it. I know Mike Conley feels that way. I know that Kyle Anderson knows. Rudy Gobert knows what it's like to navigate these seasons. And so, it's like if I love Wolves Twitter. It's one of the greatest places, and it can be one of the most negative places too.
Yeah.
But you've got 44 wins and 21 existential crisis. It's like everyone wants to break down the losses like it's like the end of the world. So I'm just enjoying the ride, man. This is the greatest group of people I've been around since I've been in with the Wolves. This coaching staff, this players, PR staff, like everybody, it's like a big traveling family, and it's just a great thing to enjoy. So I just know that this is my 26th year broadcasting. Who knows how many years I have left. I was talking to Michael Thompson last night. He does a great job with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Michael is 68 right now, and he said he wants to go 10 more years.
Wow.
He wants to be Hubie Brown.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to be Hubie Brown.
You could be Jack Ramsey. You could be like Jack Ramsey, do radio. Have Michael do TV. He's the Hubie Brown to be perfect.
Oh gosh.
Well, it's anyway. when I first met you, many years ago, it was because I'm an NBA guy. I've just followed the NBA super closely since I lived in Washington D.C. And my single mom would take me to the Capitol Center to with my game worn Elvin Hayes or my game worn Kevin Griffin.
You knew all my era players. That's for sure. We connected on that level big time.
But it was weird when I first saw you because I was like 19 or 20 when you played in your first championship, and it was against the Celtics. And it was and so now it's like through KFAN, I'm meeting you, and I'm like, wow, that's cool, man. I remember the Tri-Towers with Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon and stuff, and then I meet Jerry Seasteen. All right, well, Seasteen played for the Celtics, so moving from Washington D.C. to Los Angeles at age 13. I was a big Boston Celtics guy, man. I was a basketball playing freshman in high school, following Larry Bird, even trying to get the shot off my right shoulder just to look like him.
Forget Jerry Seasteen, Kevin McHale.
Well, but here's the deal: is Jerry Seasteen? All right, well, he's also into horse racing. He buys horses and sells them now, and I think he's based in Florida doing it. Yeah, he's got a nice little business going. So we stay in touch. But when I first met Seasteen and Flip Saunders, it was at Champs Alley. And it was, I think, 2 nights before the NBA draft. And, they're talking about Bryant Big Country Reeves and other people, and they're going to draft Kevin Garnett. So that's how I first met Flip and Jerry Seasteen. But in that NBA Final Series, correct me if I'm wrong, that why I bring it up is that was the series Seasteen went after Ralph Sampson, or Ralph Sampson went after Jerry Seasteen.
Yeah, it was a combination of both.
Okay, but what's Ralph, 7'3"?
Yeah, 7'4".
7'4". And what's Jerry? 6'1"?
6'2".
Okay, so it looked like the bubblegum packet you would open with big guy on beach, and with his holding somebody by the forehead, and they're just swinging wildly trying to get him. It's just, it was so much different then than it is now. But last night, watching the game last night, man, they just the Timberwolves pushed and pushed and pushed, and from calling it or playing in it, likewise like the NFL, the season we just went through with the Vikings. 4 quarterbacks, bunch of injured people is okay. Next man up's one thing, and these people are compensated and talented to do a certain amount for a certain amount of time. But when the elasticity starts to get stretched too thinly, well, the bubble eventually is going to pop, whether it's in a game, a month, or a season. I just kind of felt that last night a little bit late in the game. The Wolves pushed to keep it as close or lead as long as they could. But then something popped. Do you see it that way?
Well, that's what the Wolves have done so much at home this year when they played all these sub-500 teams. The Wolves were not good last year against teams they should beat, in air quotes.
Yeah.
But then this year they've been fantastic in that way. And so you see them, some of these teams, not that the Minnesota Timberwolves, obviously, with Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and the team we put on the floor last night is sub-500. but definitely depleted.
Yeah.
And the Wolves have done a great job of just breaking those teams, and sometimes it takes three quarters plus, maybe a few more minutes. Like it's you'll see the Wolves, they break these teams, and they put up a great fight. And I just think that Minnesota just played so well in a lot of ways, but the talent level of LeBron James is still breathtaking right now.
Well, it's you watch him in essence, and I say this with respect, sleepwalk through 2.5 quarters, where he's not as fast up and down the court as he is in the fourth quarter, just kind of meandering a little bit, but then all of a sudden it's pedal to the metal, and he's hitting threes. That pass that he threw to, I forgot who made the layup, where he threw the guy open basically the length of the court, that's as good a basketball pass as you're going to see. Wouldn't you agree?
It really was. And we had a graphic last night just looking at his run to 40,000 points. And I think it's more visually. I think if you look at this, that his first 10,000 points he did in 368 games. The next 10,000 happened in 358.
Oh wow!
The next 10,000 to 30,000 happened in 381, and this last 10,000 happened in 368.
That's the greatest mark of consistency by immortality I've ever seen in my life.
It's machine-like.
That's it makes me want to look at Tom Brady and be like, all right, you jumped in, you had X amount of touchdowns, completion percentage, yards per attempt, and it stayed the same way the whole career.
Isn't that amazing?
That's unbelievable.
That's one of the most amazing sort of statistics of consistency that I've ever seen in my life. And so, seeing LeBron is I had a chance to see Wayne Gretzky play, and I saw him in Houston actually when I was playing for the Rockets. He came and did an exhibition game, and I got a picture with him.
Yeah,
I got a great picture with me, Gretzky, Mike Golick, who was playing for the Houston Oilers at the time, and my guy Mike Kelly. Anyway, so I just seen Wayne Gretzky play. I needed to see him play more. I only saw him play once.
Yeah.
And I never saw Mario Lemieux play, and I never really saw Peyton Manning play. I like all these great players that come onto the stage. I was telling Grady this last night. If you haven't seen LeBron James play before he retires, he's going to retire in the next couple of years. You've got to go see him play because it's just one of the great things in sports. And you've been lucky because you've been through this with the Vikings. You've seen them all. You've seen them all come through, and you've done a lot of great broadcasts with a lot of great players. So there's just nothing like it. I love it. I love my job. I feel so lucky to be able to do it, and I know you feel the same way, to be able to be around the players and to be around the league like this. It's fun. It's just really fun.
Yeah. Well, the game calls. I mean, the preparation for the game, I still really enjoy. Football is obviously different once a week, but the actual calling of the game and the adrenaline emotion that goes into the game. Football is so much different than basketball, though. But they both. Well, let me put it this way: it's like, I can tell you really enjoy working with Michael Grady. I mean, I'm watching.
Fantastic guy. Yeah, he's just a great guy.
And just his composure and his chill when he calls these games. And I pulled Michael to the side at the Sacramento game just to put my hand out back at home and just say, man, you're just, for what it's worth, what my opinion is worth, you're doing a phenomenal job. It's just such a great listen with you and Pete. And it's when somebody's new, you probably don't get a chance to vet them out. So therefore, it's a relationship that's going to develop, and I can just tell watching you guys, you really enjoy each other's company.
I really like him a lot. I've really been blessed to work with everybody that I've worked with has been phenomenal. Chad Hartman and I are best friends. You know what I mean? Like, that guy's just a great friend of mine.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Hanny and I and I just saw Hanny's family. They just came to a game, and I took a picture with Nancy and the kids and everybody on center court, and Tom was just my heart. Tom was just, you knew Hanny, unbelievable human being. And then Ben's and I had a great time for 10 years. Ben's and I just vibed, and I like to think I'm a good teammate. You know what I mean? Like, I try to find something to like about everybody that I work with, and I hope they can find the same thing in me. And with Grady and I had known his work already because he did a great job with Yes. And when you watch as much league pass as I do and we do, you catch these things, and I would see him on with Ian Eagle and Sarah Kustak.
Yeah.
And he would be the sideline reporter. So he's their sideline reporter. And they would bring him in on bits all the time. And Michael just, that sense of humor that Grady has, all the lines he has.
It's right.
It was there. So it's so like when he came in, when I knew it was going to be Michael Grady coming in.
Yeah.
Because Noah Eagle was also a name that came up in that process too.
Yeah.
So Noah's now with Brooklyn. When it was Michael Grady, I was if I was going to lose Ben's, getting Michael Grady was the next greatest thing because just he's so professional, and this dude has paid his dues. Like you talked with him about his upbringing in Indianapolis and all the things that he did. But he was like a one man band, like doing all this stuff like with TV. He was like doing a radio show in the morning, and then he was doing like news reports for the local wherever it was ABC affiliate in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
He's doing a 5 p.m. report. He's doing the game as the in-arena announcer.
Wow, are you kidding me?
Yeah. He was the in-arena announcer for the Pacers and Fever for many years.
You better be getting 4 times pay.
It's like Paul Allen in Canterbury and Vikings and his radio show, and it's
when Child's done in Boulder, Colorado, University of Colorado. When she's done, then maybe there'll be some changes, but that's not the case now. Jim Peterson, analyst for Wolves basketball on Bally Sports North. He's with yours truly. In Beverly Hills, California. It's absolutely picturesque outside. We're at the Timberwolves team hotel. Yours truly and my son Derek had the privilege of going to the Wolves and Lakers last night. We'll be back for Wolves Clippers tomorrow. Of late, the Timberwolves have been missing a fair amount of wide open 3-pointers of late. Everybody's going to miss them, during the course of the season. But I mean, it's like in the was it the Sacramento game? It was the Clippers game. Well, that low scoring Clippers thing. Man, you know what I'm saying? But like specifically with now, what do we got? 18 left, something like that. I mean, so rubber is meeting road on so many different levels. You'll get Gobert back soon, I would imagine. Likewise for Slow-Mo, Cat. Who knows? But like Edwards and Conley hitting these threes because of how much they play, specifically Anthony. It's just like I was watching Anthony and he finally hit a 3 right in front of us, and I was like, get hot. It's not like, we're making Reggie Miller or Jim Paxson blush here with Anthony's 3-point game. That's not necessarily the strongest of all of his strong points, in my opinion.
Still shoots at that high clip, though.
And he shoots a lot,
Yeah, and he shoots a good percentage, too.
Right, but it's a little off of late, don't you think?
Well, let me just tell you something. I know that there's no excuse making because everybody's got to play the same NBA schedule, but in my 30-some years of being involved with the NBA as a player and a broadcaster, I have never seen a stretch of games. I've never seen 4 sets of back-to-backs in 9 games. So that's just the schedule. You go home and you're going to go to a homestand. We've been on the road so much, PA. And then we come home for a 7-game homestand. You think, okay, we're going to get some rest right now. We can get some practice in. No. We played, of the 7 games, 6 of them were in back-to-back fashion.
Wow.
And then, so we basically had a day in between a couple games, but the Sacramento game was the only single game that we played on that homestand. And then we got to go on the road and we got to play at Indy, at Cleveland back-to-back.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the stress level is very high. Being in first place is there's a toll that comes along with that. And then the injury to Karl Anthony Towns came at an inopportune time when you're going through all of this.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I just think that this team is kind of a little exhausted a little bit. And then this is kind of a weird quirk in the schedule because you've got Lakers and then now Clippers on Tuesday, and then you got 3 days off like on the road, and then you got to go to Utah and play Utah back to back, and then go play the Denver Nuggets the next night after the. So this is just a weird part of the schedule.
Right.
Anthony Edwards has to carry a really heavy load, and when you've got a 36-year-old point guard and Kyle Anderson, he's a little long in the tooth. You can't really have 4 rotation players out in the game on the road. So I just think it's all coming to bear, and that's why I'm not going to worry about where Minnesota finishes up. I think at the end of the season, you just want to be playing the best you can, and I think Finchie, this is the thing I said about Finchie from the very beginning. Once I got to know him and I saw his training camps, my motto is in Finch we trust.
Yeah.
And you know him now because you've interviewed him a bunch.
Love him.
He's an incredibly impressive guy.
Yeah.
He's got this ability to motivate people, and they all love him.
Yeah.
I've never seen this to this degree with a coach before.
Right.
So I'm
like him and Edwards.
Exactly.
I mean,
everybody.
to be surrogate father and boss and coach, and then have the play, and then be like, paraphrasing from a month and a half, 2 months ago, a press conference after a game, Anthony needs to play more maturely. Ball gets too sticky, something like that. Whoa, hey, I mean, that doesn't go 10 out of 10 times where the player takes it the right way when it's public, but then Ant comes out and he's like, no, I love him. And he's right. And you could just tell Anthony likes hard coaching.
But the other part of it, too, is that, Finchie empowers people around him, and so he really gives his coaching staff a lot of leeway, and he gives them a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And so whether it's in player development and working with the guys, or whether it's in game planning and the information that he's willing to receive from them, and then let them, because like a lot of head coaches are micromanagers. You know, I mean, I've been around a lot of coaches that, you go into your coaches meeting, you get your marching orders, you figure out your game plan, you go out onto the court, and then that coach wants to sit there and dictate everything that happens. They run the walkthrough and shoot around.
Yeah.
They're running all the drill work. It's their voice 24/7.
Yeah.
Where Finchie's not like that. Finchie doesn't want his voice to be the only voice, so he empowers Mike Nori, who's fantastic, and Kevin Hansen, who's fantastic, and Pablo Prigioni and Elston Turner.
Yeah.
So
got Corliss Williamson,
and Corliss Williamson.
Which
I mean,
is
like,
weird when I see it.
I know, but they all have this incredible responsibility, and they do. They do, and then how open he is too. Like the amount of information that Finchie gives me and Grady and Alan Horton. And how open he is with us with actual game plan information. You know what I mean? Like he trusts us and he gives it to us. And so there's just a lot of it's just an unbelievable ecosystem that we live in here. And so that's why I'm just going to enjoy it for as long as we can.
And you knowing basketball plays as well as you do, it's like, a little game plan information. So have you ever been like, all right, well, I understand on passing game, the guy's free throw line extended will pick down, and then there's a back cut under the basket. Do you always get that back cut under the basket? Is that guy always open? You could talk like plays like that with him, right?
Well, it's just more about game plan, like the coverages that they decide upon, and when you get a Rudy Gobert, and the kind of versatility you get by having someone like that, and how they've grown Rudy's game, like because Rudy had, and I know this because I've known a lot of the coaches that have been in the Utah Jazz system and how they coached Rudy and what Rudy was willing and not willing to do in that system, right? And Finchie was like, you know what? Rudy's done it his way, this way for a long time, and he's very successful. But we also need him to do things our way a little bit. So he needs to come up and start the things that he was unwilling to do in Utah. He is now doing here,
right? And
so this coaching staff has gotten him to do it. And so just seeing the coverages that Rudy's able to execute now, and I've been so impressed with how his game has grown too, and the way that they put Karl Anthony Towns in place to be successful. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing about coaches is like you have to understand how to put a player into a situation that they can be successful. And then also coaches meetings can be negative, dark hole places sometimes, especially if you're struggling and start talking about how this guy can't do that and that guy can't do that and that guy sucks.
Yeah.
And, it's like and so like I just think that this coaching staff, you got to try to really find out what a player can do and what they can do and put them in that situation and celebrate what they can do, because we all have deficiencies.
Agreed.
Right? Like that, nobody's perfect. Anthony Edwards is pretty close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's pretty close to being perfect.
Yeah.
But I just can't say enough about how that's wwhy at the end of the day, I'm going to ride and die with what Finchie's going to do with his coaching staff.
That's so interesting you said that about, this player doesn't do this well or that well or this well or that well. We hear a lot of that about these players that are going to be in the NFL draft in a month and a half. And I had a coach at the Indianapolis Combine say to me a couple weeks ago, they start with what they do well.
Yep.
And they will start from there and build off that, not only schematically, but with the player. And they just find that to be much more fruitful when it comes to getting somebody's mind to open about what everybody's trying to do, as opposed to being like, all right, well, you didn't box this guy out, and you traveled here, and we had a bounce pass in the key, and you picked your dribble up down by the baseline, all those things we've talked about all year, and that's very beneficial. So TNT has Tuesday night's game. What do you do?
I'm going to Palm Springs.
Oh, good for you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, my two brother-in-laws. So my wife is here with me, and like this has been great because like a lot of the players and coaches have their wives here, so it's very family friendly that way.
Yeah.
So we're gonna drive to Palm Springs this morning, and I'm gonna go play golf in Palm Springs for a couple days.
Good for you, my brother. Hey, good seeing you.
Love you, buddy. It's great being back on your show, man.
And let's do it more frequently, okay?
Yeah, good to see you.
Especially the closer to the playoffs, stuff like that.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Jim Peterson, St. Louis Park's finest, analyst for Wolves basketball on Bally Sports North. Speaking of radio and broadcasting, Alan Horton, the radio play-by-play voice, joins us next.
as the legal tampering period opens up across the NFL at 11 a.m. Central Time. The Athletics' Diana Rossini reporting just minutes ago that Kirk Cousins will begin negotiations with the Atlanta Falcons right at 11 o'clock. So keep it here, your home for Vikings football, The Fan. Meat Sauce and I will actually be filling in for Common today, noon to 3. So heavy on NFL for 3 hours there. And, of course, as news begins to unfold and unpack and be released, we got you here 9 to noon. Back to PA in L.A. with Wolves Vox Alan Horton.
Here's the Vox. Calls games on the free iHeartRadio app and or FM 100.3 KFAN. Alan Horton, nearly 2-decade play-by-play voice for the Minnesota Timberwolves, has joined the Beverly Hillbilly Covenant here in Southern California after a loss to the Lakers, a day in advance of hopefully a victory over the Clippers. And I think we've talked about this before, but doing radio. All right, for FM 100.3, KFAN, the iHeartRadio app, WCCO, where you were for many years, it's like Tuesday is a TNT game. So Grady and Pete, they can go home, they can go to Palm Springs and golf, do whatever. But for a Radio Vox, you'll be at that game.
Absolutely.
And the team's going to make the playoffs, the fan has learned, and hopefully advance through the playoffs, where eventually TV is done and it goes to a national broadcast. But that's not the case with radio. I mean, you'll be with them every step of the way, and I think that's super cool. Good morning.
Good morning, PA. It's great to see you.
You
I'm
too,
glad you had a good time at the game last night. Couldn't get the outcome we desired, but it is what it is. The Wolves have not been in that position where they've been on TNT a bunch.
Yeah.
I think you have to set that precedent of winning. Those games will come, and if you make it out of the first round, it becomes exclusive to the big networks, to ESPN, to TNT, to ABC. And so it looks like the Wolves are going towards that. I love the fact that I get to do every single game. And I think you're probably the same way. If you take a game off, all of a sudden your notes aren't the same. You haven't seen the game. You haven't gone through that process. You just get in that rhythm of 82 and then hopefully deep run.
Well, it's interesting you say that because like during the pandemic, and I'm calling Vikings games that are on the road from U.S. Bank Stadium. Now, the NFL treated it really professionally, as you would imagine. So, giant 70-some-odd inch television copy TV and giant 70-inch-ish all 22, that they would pipe in so you could see from behind with the end zone angle. And doing the job wasn't a problem. The problem is when I was done at let's say it's a noon game. So, I mean, I'm home mowing my lawn at 4:05 listening to Vikings Fan Line, which, okay, that's cool. But a lot of people with whom I've worked for 20 some odd years, I know what they feel like on that bus sitting outside the stadium waiting for the head coach, and then getting to the tarmac and you wait there and, then we board planes on a tarmac and then you get on the plane. So I just felt like I should be there.
Right.
It's like, the season ain't great 2020, but it's like, I've sweat this so long, win and lose with these guys.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was cheating the system in 2020 and I just didn't enjoy it. And quite honestly, I was about done. I just really didn't want to do it anymore after that season.
It really makes you think, like, long term, could you do that? It would change because we went through the same thing for a season, and then the next year there was a month or two where we were on the road, then we were off the road for a month as COVID came back. And we went through the same thing. You have the big screens, and the NBA does an amazing job. They've got all their arenas tied together with technology that goes back to Secaucus. That's how they do the whole replay system. And so when they got to the pandemic, they already had all these arenas hardwired, and so TV and radio crews, Spanish crews, could do the broadcast from the arena, and they would get feeds from Secaucus. From if we're playing in Orlando, that feed would go back to Secaucus. They'd send it to Minnesota, and with the effects and all the different angles you could get. So we had 2 or 3 TVs set up, same kind of thing. You could do the broadcast. I tried to get the TV as close as I could right in front of me to try to make me feel like I was there. You try to do the best you can.
You have crowd noise in your headphones?
Yeah.
Well, then
effects. So you kind of did.
Yeah, Jared Wells is our engineer for the Vikings Radio Network. And, it's every team had the ability to have this, but he knows me and I know him so well that the nonverbal just happens. So it's like the crowd noise in the headphones while you're in an empty stadium and a team's 2,000 miles away, I mean, that was imperative, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And shout out to our engineer at home, Mike Weber, who does a great job. Al Flom before him, a longtime engineer that a lot of people would recognize in the business. The effects we get, the goal is to bring the listener in, right? Yeah. We're describing what's happening. We want them tuning in so they know what's happening. And we can do that by having some of these effects and making you feel like, holy cow. Like last night, there was a play late in the game. I think the game had already gotten out of hand, but they were talking underneath the basket. The referees didn't know what to call, and we could hear all the conversations. You could hear guys started talking.
Yeah, Ant was playing with LeBron with Ant.
Yeah.
That was right in front of where we were sitting.
Yeah, and someone yells, "Hey, James, make the call." James Williams, the crew chief, and you could hear that come through, and that just brings people in. So
love that.
It wasn't ideal, but I think we all kind of, in all of our sports, kind of rallied around and made the best of a tough situation. The problem has been a couple of teams have not gone back on the road. In Toronto, they have not gone back on the road since the pandemic. So period.
Why?
And the Toronto Blue Jays are the same way.
Wonder why?
I don't know. Because it's, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know the reason behind it.
So Clippers tomorrow evening, and deep stretch for teams that have good records and are trying to hold home court standing. And then you face a rash of injuries. Yeah. All right, Cat, regular season, and then now Stifle and Slow-Mo, out last night, basically scratching day of. This can be a stressful time for coaches, players, everybody involved.
And Jim Pete talked about it. It's poor timing. It's tough timing.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to. I was asking Chris Finch about this last night on the tip-off show. It's a difficult stretch to try to first off just adjust without Karl Anthony Towns. That's going to take some practice time. They've got to figure some things out. You don't have that time. You're trying to do it against really good teams. Indiana's good. I mean, they're going to go deep in the playoffs. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah.
Cleveland has their issue, but these are good teams. These are over 500 teams, and you don't have a lot of margin for error. And now all of a sudden you're trying to not only win a game, but figure out how to play without Karl. You missed your head coach for one game.
Yeah.
You missed Monte Morris, who was starting to develop a real consistency. I know he was really bummed out. He's hopeful to come back for tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And then you throw TJ Warren in the mix, who hasn't played a game all year. He's been really solid, but you can't rely on him all of a sudden to start playing 25, 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of, and then all the injuries last night. It just mixes together, and that makes for a really tough stretch. And the Wolves had a great fight, but 21-4 for the Lakers to open that fourth quarter, and that was enough.
Now you Alan Horton, play-by-play voice for the Timberwolves on the radio, and you've called games courtside. You now call games at the top of level 1 at Target Center, kind of where you were at Crypto last night.
Yep.
So I mean, over the course of time, you've heard so much more, not only than me, but than what people will hear being close to the action. Now, I don't get opportunities frequently to sit in the seats that I had last night.
Yeah.
So Derek and I, my son, we were just marveling at it's unbelievable. Now the officiating in the Cleveland game, I mean, it was, we have Ed Malloy terrorism from X amount of years ago. That game right there was really, really difficult, specifically late. Certainly not saying, the little hand finger gesture Rudy did that cost him $100,000 was needed, but nevertheless, the frustration was there. The referees in the NBA, they take more during the course of a game than any home plate umpire, side judge, linesman. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable how much those guys take during the game. And eventually you got like Scott Foster, he'll have a quick trigger, and some of the older guys will have quick triggers because they just ain't going to deal with it.
Right.
But some of the younger guys, or some like you meant, James, what's his last name?
James Washington.
Yeah, he's not super young, but he's not, he's
James
not,
Williams. Sorry,
James Williams, but he's not Scott Foster. But I just can't believe how much they put up with during the course of the game.
It's a no-win situation. If one team isn't hating you, the other team is, and if you're at that team's home floor, I mean, it's just. Yeah, I mean, even the Lakers got separation in that fourth quarter. There was one call that went against them, and the whole crowd went berserk. It's like, well, you're already up 15. What more do you the referees are always going to err, especially on a ball out of bounds, where you just and you see how fast this game is. I tell everybody, if you think officiating is so easy, you should go down to the rec league, go watch a YMCA game.
Yeah.
Try to ref that game.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, wait, what just happened?
Yep.
It's a different level. It's a different speed. And for as much as we get on the referees, they have the most difficult job. I mean, this game is so fast, so big, and guess what? Every single year, they add more rules for these guys to rule on. Hey, by the way, we got to look for flopping now. Hey, you got to check those guys' feet. Hey, you got to see did the defensive player get there in time, and we want to see whether or not he's into the gathering motion into a shot yet.
Yeah.
You've got to keep track of all that. Good luck.
And lastly, when you watch games live and you can see the full spectrum of things, and that's what God has created for you as your job, which is the bomb, is I found last night Anthony Edwards' leaping ability from close to the foul line when he has his legs.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm going to dunk on you. And the block shot at Indiana, by the way, great job on that call, man.
Oh, thank you.
We played it twice. It was fantastic. Just the moment itself was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you really, really delivered on that, in my opinion.
Thank you.
And so like last night, Anthony's 42-inch vertical from the foul line. Granted, dunks aren't going in like that because maybe you're a little short, somebody defends it or whatever. But his leaping ability live is unbelievable. LeBron James passing live and how he sets up the guy he threw open last night from 70 feet, that was unbelievable.
Yep. That was a Kevin Love outlet pass.
Yeah.
Boom. Chest pass. Just like that.
And you see it live, and it's like, wow, so much more goes into it than we just see on the TV, you know?
And LeBron is so smart at this age. He's seen it all. He knows exactly what. I mean, there are a couple of things. He could have had his eyes closed. He just catches, push, inside out type
the way
of thing.
he manages his body and his legs during the game.
Yep.
And then it's like almost sleepwalking. Then it's like, okay, you're going to leave me open for 3. Bang. Yep. And then, like, say, 8 minutes to go in a close game, when he puts the pedal to the metal, hide the women and children, even at this age,
He's so big. He's so strong. He's a freight train, and he gets to the rim. He picks his moments, and then all of a sudden you look at the final box score, and he's got 29, 8, and 9. You're just like, this guy almost had a triple-double. But back to Ants and his athletic ability. He tried to dunk over Anthony Davis last night.
Right.
He did everything but the finish, and he just leaps, and he gets a little boost. He's learned this, that you can get on to somebody else. Like he got up on Jaden McDaniels on the block to get a little extra boost, to get his whole body up there.
Yeah.
And I think he got the arm over Anthony Davis, so he kind of boosted himself even higher.
Oh, wow.
And he just couldn't finish that thing. And
that's amazing.
It would have been an all-time highlight dunk against a really unbelievable player. I mean, my God, he's the first player in NBA history last night to have 25 points, 25 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, and 3 blocks.
7 steals.
Well, he finished with 7, but 5 plus.
I know, but bro, who has 7 steals?
No, I know. He had 5 in the first quarter. How did this happen?
OG Anunoby's watching going, hey, I see what you're doing there,
Are we
brother.
counting these 5 at a time? I missed a couple of those, next thing you know. But he just puts up. When he's right, he is dominant.
My brother, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. And I'll see Derek and I, Senor Smiley, my son and I are coming to the game tomorrow.
Cool.
So I'll stop by and say hello.
Absolutely.
Alan Horton, radio play-by-play voice for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Assistant coach Mike Inori comes up 40 minutes from now. Michael Grady, the TV play-by-play voice, at about 11. And Johnny Athletic in the final hour. He'll stop by the team hotel to chat myriad sports-related topics. But when we return, a couple of segments of a free agency frenzy and Vikes Bites, executed by Nordo on your home for pretty much everything local sports. FM 100.3 KFAN.